How you doing? It's your boy, Coach of Philadelphia Flying Guns. I'm gonna hold my mic because I don't feel like it cutting out. Draft recap this video. Got a little bit of a double upload today. I'll be uploading the HDL honors presentation from season 2 that happened a few months back to celebrate the coming of season 3. I'll be going over the draft similarly to how I did last season. So without further ado, let's get into the draft. Peace. How you doing? It's your boy, Flipkicky here. For those of you that somehow did not make it through the intro and have decided to skip all the way to right now, which was, only 50 seconds, I'm your coach for the Philadelphia Fly Guns, your boy, Flipkicky. I think this is the last season that we'll be going under the moniker Philadelphia Fly Guns. With me going to my new college in the fall, I will probably adapt the team name after the area I will be living in for the majority of the next 4 years. So I wanted to make the last season with the Philadelphia Fly Guns a little bit special. And what I decided to do was to make my draft a little bit more interesting, and as well to test my own skill and drafting ability. I set up a series of rules that I had to follow for the season and for this draft. We're doing Nat decks this season, which made things a little bit more lenient for drafting. However, the problem was I handicapped myself by limiting myself to 3 mons that had to be randomly selected and mons I had to draft and build around. Not only that, they were my first 3 mons that I was forced to draft, no matter how good they were or not. Draft worked the same exact way it did last season. We started with our free picks, 1 of each tier, besides having 2 tier 3s as well as a mega. And I horribly got the first pick handed to me. In a random draw, I was the one that got the first pick, which is the worst thing that could have happened, because that means I would have to draft the first mon I'm forced to draft, would have to wheel all the way down and then come back to me just for me to pick my 2 mons that I'm still forced to pick, and then I can start picking what I want. My original plan got brutally sniped, as I will explain later on, but without further ado, I'll just get to the mon I had to pick with the first overall pick, and that would be Florges. I might just spoil the next mon after, but you can already see how this draft is going to be way different than last season. I feel like my team ended up as a typical, Wade standard team of teams I typically play like, and I love Florges, don't get me wrong. Florges is a great mon, really good, specially defensive cleric. It can also dish out some damage if it really does feel like it, but as the first pick overall, also being a tier 2, it just didn't feel worth it, but I will make use of Florges. Also note that it's blue, because when I rolled it rolled a blue Florges, so I'll be using Florges. Again, it's my fairy type. I didn't have to worry about getting a fairy type later on, and it is, like I said, a very good cleric and just specially defensive mon. Not very good physical defenses, but this is obviously my dragon counter and my special oriented fighting counters. My physical oriented fighting counter will be showing up a little bit later. And I'm happy with Florges, but I wanted to pair Florges with another mon to make a really good defensive core. However, that mon got sniped, which I will again get to later. Once I get to my tier 1, that's when everything started to go a little wrong. As I might have spoiled earlier, my other tier 4 that I had to pick was Floatzel. Now, Floatzel is basically only in tier 4 because it gets Swift Swim. If it didn't get Swift Swim, it would be in tier 5, no doubt. It's a decent mixed attacker, actually. It has a surprisingly good moveset. However, it's just not super good at what it does. And with this being my water type, I could have gone and taken another water type later, but I just really didn't want to double up on other types. I was just running out of space on things to get. A little bit of a spoiler, I only have 10 mons this season compared to 11, but a bunch of teams decided to go with only 10 mons this season, so I'm not out of the loop on that. We did make points picks drastically more expensive. Tier 1s and tier 2s were very expensive to get in points, so some people just elected to take those and deal with that extra, not having that extra mon, which I kind of had to do to fill up holes with mons that I was confident in and not kind of shitter picks. But Floatzel kind of just feels like a random shitter pick. I don't know how I'm going to use it. It's kind of weird relying on my water type being a Floatzel. And if this thing got flip turn, it would be great, but it doesn't get flip turn to my knowledge. So I really still don't know how I'm going to use this thing. It gets some interesting shenanigans, like, I'm not going to spoil them because I kind of need the element of surprise with this mon, but it gets some interesting shenanigans. so we'll see how much I actually end up using it, but I will probably end up using it more than Gothitelle. Now, the problem with Gothitelle is like, oh, you might be saying, oh, it's great. It's got Shadow Tag. Yeah, Shadow Tag's banned for a good reason. Shadow Tag is a banned ability in this league. So my Gothitelle is purely Frisk and competitive. Therefore, it is a tier 5. If it got Shadow Tag, it would probably be a tier 2 or a tier 3. However, it doesn't because that's stupid. So it's competitive and Frisk, which on their own are both good abilities. Frisk is a very good ability if I want to use Gothitelle's utility that week to try and scope out items and such. Competitive just helps it attack, and it doesn't have a shabby special attack stat whatsoever. It's just very difficult to use. It's a mono psychic type. It's pretty odd in its own right, considering it gets abilities that force some workaround. So it's just odd to use in draft when it doesn't have Shadow Tag. And as you could see, the 3 mons I was forced to take, Florges, Floatzel, and Gothitelle, are all mono type, which really pigeonholed me later on in the draft when I was forced to take a bunch of dual types because I just needed to fill up gaps. So having a water type, that's, just mono water. My fairy type being mono fairy isn't that big of a deal, but my psychic type being mono psychic was also kind of difficult. So again, 2 very important mons of a good core, my water type and my psychic type, are kind of bad. Florges is great. Again, fairy's good. And it made me start my fire, water, grass cores and my fairy, steel, dragon cores, but I didn't complete them the way I wanted to. Now, the plan was to go with Florges, was to get Registeel. However, Registeel got sniped. But Registeel's partner in crime, along with Florges, was Vileplume. Now, Vileplume got wrongfully stolen from me in Season 1 after the magic known as Giflor in the Oraz Nuzlocke versus with me, Hylian, Clay, and a couple others. I always took my starter Vileplume all the way through the game and have it not die. And it endeared me. And Vileplume really endeared its way into my heart through that. And I wanted to use it Season 1, but it got taken. And he didn't fit into my team plan last season. And he was starting to fit in my team plan this season. I needed a good grass type, preferably a defensive grass type for my Fire Water Grass Core. Got it. Need a poison type. Got it. So I was like, shit, I'll just take Vileplume. And then I was going to take Registeel along with Florges, because I've used Florges Registeel as a combo before in a previous draft league, and that is a fantastic core. It's great. But I got Vileplume at least. Vileplume was my plan to take along with Registeel in Tier 3. You'll see, obviously Registeel got sniped, so you'll see that I wasn't able to get him. My Iron Taco is not able to reign supreme. But Vileplume is here. I'm happy I got Vileplume, honestly. I know how to use it a little bit. People have had it the last 2 seasons anyway, so this is his 3rd different team now, switching hands over and over again. But, it's a Chlorophyll Sweeper, but I don't have Sun going on. So I'm probably going to be using it more as a just defensive, just fuck with you grass type and poison type. I had Roserade last season, so he fits a similar niche to Roserade. However, Roserade was more attack oriented. Vileplume's a bit more defense oriented. After Vileplume, I decided to go for my Mega because the tier 1 I wanted also got sniped, and since I was the first pick, it was going to wheel around to me. Everyone had their tier 1, so I didn't need to take my tier 1 at that moment. So I knew I need to get my Mega now before it got sniped. Originally, my Mega, if my plan was going as planned, was going to be Mega Pinsir. However, Mega Pinsir got taken. No, Mega Pinsir did not get taken. My original plan for my Tier 1 also got sniped, along with Registeel, so I had to panic and change plans. This was my backup Mega planned. I still don't know how I feel about it, but it fits a Dark type, so I have Mega Absol. Now, Mega Absol in its own right is not a bad mon whatsoever. It works to my team, but my team is desperately lacking offense at this point. My only just truly offensive mon right now is Absol and kind of Floatzel, and that's really it. So it's lacking considerable offense. This is really good knockoff support, but as an Absol on its own, it's not good. That's why it's a tier 2 Mega. It's got Magic Bounce though. Magic Bounce is very useful, but Mega Absol is one of the harder Megas to use. So I'll probably be hitting up Sandy a little bit since he had Mega Absol Season 1. So I'll probably be asking him how to use it a little bit. It's a little bit difficult to use, but I feel like if I'm able to use this thing properly, it can definitely help me win games. It's got a really good special move pool, but although it's more of a physical attacker, I also needed this mon for speed. My team is a tad bit slow. However, I do have a couple mons that are very, very good choice scarf mons, and mons that can get even faster if their abilities are utilized properly. Now, I don't have much to say about Mega Absol besides what I have said. However, it's on the team. I don't mind it being here. It's kind of just, I have this Mega. I don't love it as much as I loved Slowbro. So hopefully I'm able to use it right and utilize it properly. I might end up even changing it during the season, but I need a dark type, so I'd only be able to pick like Houndoom or Sharpedo if I changed it, because Mega Sableye was taken. So, I mean, we'll see how Absol goes. But before I get into my next pick, I'm going to tell you my tier 1 that I was planning on taking. And that was Dragapult. My entire team is basically playing around Dragapult. Dragapult, Florges, Registeel is my Fairy Dragon Steel combo. Are you kidding me? And then I would take Mega Pinsir on top of that. That's so good. But they got taken. So I had to completely restructure how I was building my team. And I was scrambling. My original plan was to take Absol and then my plan was to take Goodra as my backup dragon type for my points. But then Goodra got taken. So then I was scrambling to find a good dragon type and a good steel type at the same time, while also getting a good fighting type and points and an electric type and a fire type. It was a puzzle. Thankfully, Yurun is a god, and suggested for me to pick up Aegislash. Now, it fixed my ghost problem and my steel problem at the same time, but again, this is fitting the criteria of mons that are pretty janky and difficult to use. I have a bunch of them now. I have Gothitelle, I have Absol, I have Floatzel, and I have Aegislash now. Now, Aegislash is obviously a very good mon. It's my tier 1. I don't have another tier 1, but it's an Aegislash. It's really good. It's just very difficult to use. I can use it defensively. I can use it offensively. Whatever team mode I'm doing that week, I can use my Aegislash accordingly, which is why Aegislash is so good. However, again, it's difficult to use, so it's really up to me. This season is really dependent on how well I use the mons the way they're, supposed to be used. If I'm not able to use them properly, then, I mean, what am I doing? So, next up is Mudsdale. Now, I knew I wanted Mudsdale from the beginning. Mudsdale was in my plan to draft, since the beginning. I was originally going to take him in points, but since Registeel got taken, I needed to save points later on. So I knew I wanted Mudsdale, so I just took him for my free picks. I didn't have any other tier 3s that I really wanted, and I figured out the way I wanted to spread my points picks around at this point, so I ended up taking Mudsdale. I needed Mudsdale for rocks, first and foremost. Up until this point, I didn't have a rocker. Registeel was going to be my rocker. Registeel gets Stealth Rocks, but, Registeel's gone. You see how much my team is relying on me getting Registeel Dragapult now, the way how vulnerable my team was to snipes. But I got Mudsdale, so that's good rocks. Stamina, it's very annoying to deal with in drafts since it's just so thick. But again, he's a little weird to use. You got to use Stamina the right way. You got to put the right moves on Mudsdale, preserve his health. Hopefully I can patch some Fat Wishes with Florges onto it, if possible. But I'm happy with Mudsdale. Mudsdale is one of the picks I'm happy with, and one of the mons I'm excited to use. I'm also, starting to spread out my physical and special mons a little bit. Aegislash could go either way. So could Floatzel, but Florges is more special. Absol can go either way as well, but Mudsdale is definitely a more physically defined mon, along with the next mon I took, which was my first points pick. However, I took these two mons at the same time. The points picks were odd. I did math wrong, but these were the first two mons I knew I wanted. You'll see the mon I had to take because I did my math wrong later. But my first point pick was spent on Hawlucha. At this point, I was realizing I didn't have a flying type, and my team would have gotten absolutely decimated by Earthquake spam. So I needed a flying type, as well as a fighting type that I wanted, because one of my backup plans for my tier 1 was to take either Galarian, Zapdos, Terrakion, or Infernape, so I can get a fighting type in tier 1, but then Jeroen's suggesting Aegislash, maybe hop on the Aegislash train, and then I needed to take a fighting type in my points picks. I was going to take Conkeldurr, but then if I took Conkeldurr, I wouldn't have gotten the mon I really needed next, which is an electric type, or my electric pivot, as well as a fire type, and then with my last one, I wouldn't have gotten my dragon type in that way, and then I wouldn't have had a flying type, which is a problem. So Hawlucha was the only mon that really fit that bill. The problem with Hawlucha is that it relies on Unburden. It does have Mold Breaker, but you kind of have to rely on a choice item if you're going to use Mold Breaker Hawlucha. So I need terrains for it to eat its seeds, do the Hawlucha thing. And I was really annoyed because at first I realized I didn't have anything, but the next mon I took can put up Electric Terrain, Vileplume can put up grassy terrain, and Florges can put up misty terrain. Oddly, Gothitelle can't put up psychic terrain, but I have 3 of the 4 terrains that I can put up manually, which is nice. And they're all mons that can probably put them up reliably if they're given the chance. So I have some wiggle room for Hawlucha. I can also just use it as a U-turn and just good pivot mon, as kind of like a glorified flying type Mienshao, honestly. I could see it working that way. I've been torn about it on whether I want to get rid of it for Galarian Zapdos, because I do have the points to be able to do it. I have 20 extra points worth of transactions that I can do, and getting rid of this for a 180 point Galarian Zapdos puts me up to 180 and makes me an even 0. So I could do that if I wanted to. The problem is it would detract from my speed, because this is 115 or this is 118 speed, and Absol and Floatzel are both 115. And Galarian Zapdos is only 100, and you usually ban that thing rather than Scarf it. So it would really detract from my speed tiers, and I don't want a slow team. So I'm probably going to stick with Hawlucha and try and deal with Unburden the best I can to make sure it's fast. And I feel like this could be a good mon to use, and I want to get close and endear myself with this mon. But it's just going to be hard to use. A lot of these mons are odd and a little bit difficult to use, but again, I'm excited to try and attempt to use them. Next up, a mon I knew I wanted from the start again, Rotom Heat. I needed a fire type, and I also needed an electric type at the same time. This thing perfectly fit the bill. I like Rotom Wash better, but I wanted a fire type. So I took Rotom Heat. There's not much else to say. This is one of the mons that are easier on my team to use because I know what it does. We had Jolteon last season, but Rotom Heat does a similar thing and probably kind of better than Jolteon if you're trying to use it solely as a pivot. Jolteon probably had a little bit more team support utility, while Rotom Heat has more your opponent utility. I can do some trick shenanigans, Will-O-Wisp, and stuff like that. But also just a good fire type and special attacker with a pretty solid special move pool. Fire Electric Stab is pretty solid, so I could do that with him as well. I have a lot of options with Rotom Heat, which is nice. And he honestly does fit this team pretty well. This is one of my draft picks I like more than some of the other ones. Some of the other ones were taken out of necessity and I kind of need what this mon does, even though I don't know how to use it. Like the next mon, I did my math wrong. Our tier 3s are 120 points instead of 100. I think I did my math for 440 total points instead of 420 because Absol only gives 20 bonus points since it's a tier 2 mega. So I was going to get Druddigon, which would have left me without a rock type. And another rocker, I'm pretty sure. Unless Druddigon gets rocks, and I'm forgetting that it gets rocks. But I'm kind of liking the pick that I ended up getting, even though I didn't get Druddigon, because I got Tyrantrum. Now, Tyrantrum does a surprising amount of things, has a shockingly good moveset, and is actually pretty good in draft. It gets rocks, first and foremost, so that I can use it as a surprise rocker rather than Mudsdale, if I really need to bring Tyrantrum and Mudsdale does not like the matchup. It gets Rockhead and a stupid amount of good moves with, recoil. It just hits insanely hard. It's really good to Scarf since it has good scarfing speed and a great enough a great enough physical attack to just go off of. It's a good mon. I'm shocked at how good it is the more you think about it. I don't want it to be kind of like a Darmanitan syndrome, though. I feel like he can fall into my, Darmanitan usage of actually not that useful once I actually bring it. It kind of just gets hit once, hits something hard for 80%, doesn't kill it, and then dies because it's at 20% and doesn't know what else to do. It doesn't outspeed the mon it's in on. But as I just look at the right side of that screen, the team just feels off. And I don't know what to say about how off it feels. It just doesn't feel right for some reason. There's just something about it doesn't feel complete almost. But that's the team. Those are my 10 mons because of the way the points had to work. So it's just I really want this team to succeed, but I'm not 100% in love with it. And this is a longer season compared to last season and the season before it. So I'm stuck with these mons for an extra 3 games compared to, or actually 2 games compared to last season. 3 games or 4 games compared to season 1. So I'm coming in the long haul for these guys. I think we're going to get 4 free agency transactions this season instead of 3. But again, I don't know what puzzle pieces I'm going to move. If I'm going to move puzzle pieces, it's going to be big. It's going to be like big moves. It's going to be like getting rid of Aegislash, and then replacing one of my tier 2s or something like that, or having to maybe get rid of Vileplume. Just things like it's probably gonna be like replacing Aegislash for a good grass type in tier 1 intent, getting rid of Vileplume, and then figuring out a steel type from there, and then maybe switching out one of the other ones. And maybe you're asking, oh, why don't you switch to your 3 random ones? Yeah, that's one of the rules. I can't switch them. I'm stuck with those 3 all season, and I have to figure out what the other mons are doing. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting season, but I'm looking forward to it. You know, the jankier team, I think, can breed a little bit more content and make the season a little bit more exciting. Now that the way this team is, I'm pretty sure, I think I'm going to fall in love with some of these mons later on in the season. I have all my nicknames figured out, and I really just want this team to succeed. Again, videos are going to be the same as there was last season. Team builder in the start, edits throughout the video as much as I can muster, and, you know, funny thumbnails, funny titles. Just, you know, try and make it entertaining. HDL honors will probably happen for Season 3. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to Season 3 of the HDL. It's bigger and better than it is every season. So, I'm just really looking forward to it. I really want this team to succeed, and I will try my best to make it succeed. My goal for this season is to top cut. I don't care what happens after that. With the way this team is, my goal is to make top 8 in top cut. There are 13 people in the league this season compared to 11 from last season. So if I can top cut, I'm happy. That's where I'm at. So thank you all for those that made it through this entire draft recap, no matter how brutal my rambling may have been. But upload should be every week. The HDL honors VOD should be uploaded shortly, if not before this video. So yeah, catch you all whenever the week 1 video comes out. Peace.